Hello there, Commonwealth from here. Last year, in 2021, we got a Zelda remaster and a brand new Metroid game that we had been waiting for a very long time. However, this year, as we have now reached 100 days since the last Breath of the Wild sequel update, so the sequel to this game, we still have nothing regarding any Zelda or Metroid releases on the Nintendo Switch. So what if I told you that with the current lineup that we have for 2022, it seems that only one of them can actually come out this year in 2022, while the other might have to wait much longer because Breath of the Wild sequel is coming out in spring 2023. Or is this game a security in case they have to delay Breath of the Wild 2 again? Well, be sure to leave a like if you haven't already and subscribe, as we're going to get in depth when it comes to these remakes on the Nintendo Switch. The Legend of Zelda has had a physical release on Nintendo platforms every year the last 10 years, going all the way back to A Link Between Worlds and the Wind Waker HD in 2013. And this streak has continued to Skyward Sword HD in 2021. And originally it was supposed to remain that way as Breath of the Wild sequel was
aiming for a 2022 release, so I hope you'll look forward to it.
Well, it has been over 100 days since that was no longer the case, and still no new information. At the same time, Metroid fans have been celebrating the first Metroid release on the Switch overall, and that gave hope for more before the promised Metroid Prime 4. Interestingly enough, the two franchises not only sit in a similar situation in 2022, but two of the most cherished games in their franchises are turning 20 years old late this year, as the Wind Waker was released in Japan in 2002 and the rest of the world in 2003, while Metroid Prime was released in the US in 2002 and the rest of the world in 2003, both naturally on the struggling GameCube. In other words, the two games released first in each of their regions, more or less at the same time. Something that is very rare for Nintendo but made sense with Retro Studios' debut with Metroid Prime and the fact that the game started the unbreaking streak of Nintendo's Western successor to Rareware. But here's another thing that the two games share. Both of the 20-year-old games have had re-releases and remasters, Metroid Prime for the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Wii and the Wind Waker on the Wii U as the first HD Zelda release. Both games are renowned for standing the test of time, and the control enhancement introduced in Trilogy for Prime and HD for the Wind Waker are unquestionable. Thus a reveal should be right around the corner for both, as the timing has never been better, and rumors and reports have hinted that Nintendo will follow up with two of the easiest $60 3D releases that Nintendo has available. Naturally, Prime, which has never seen an HD release before, requires more work than the Wind Waker HD, which in truth only requires the dual-screen gamepad gameplay to be removed. And the more you think of it, it just makes sense in a year where Nintendo doesn't have a new Metroid or Zelda release. Two of the best ranked games of the GameCube generation on the Switch. That would be a massive win, along with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, and hopefully a very good Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Mario fans having Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Zelda fans the Wind Waker HD, and Metroid fans the Return of Retro with Prime HD. And naturally, Xeno fans with the first big first-party release sequel on the Switch, beating even Splatoon and Pokemon fans this year. Then why do we mention or even bring up these two early 2000s classics? Since the year only has a few months left. End of July is stacked with massive games, August did not end up with Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope, first half of September has Splatoon 3, and third party October has no more room with perhaps a Bayonetta 3 for Halloween. November is once again taken by a Pokemon release, which leaves us with December. The sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming spring 2023, and ideally you would want a big Zelda remake even when it is a re-release of the Wii U remake, so a Wii U to Switch port, around half a year from the next big adventure. Hence the ideal month for the Wind Waker HD would have been August, so around 7 to 9 months away from the release of the 20th Zelda game, to a late September release would also suffice. You know, just like on the Wii U in 2013, and that was just 2 months before A Link Between Worlds released on the 3DS. Yes, two different systems, but the point still stands. Then why not Zelda in December? Because everything, including rumors, points to Metroid, which needs this Prime HD release to bring back the first-person adventure genre for the launch of Metroid Prime 4. Not only that, if Breath of the Wild 2's marketing is not reignited in a September Direct, then it is very likely that will first show up again in mid-December for the Game Awards or an early Nintendo Direct in most likely January. You could have both games side by side, but the Wind Waker HD will benefit from an earlier release than Metroid Prime HD on the Switch. In other words, for Wind Waker, it is late September or nothing. But when would their reveal be then? During the summer in a YouTube upload before a September Nintendo Direct. The question is whether the Zelda team wants this, since the Wind Waker HD can be used as a holdover title in early 2023 if Breath of the Wild 2 needs even more time. Keep in mind that the Wind Waker HD for the Switch has not been planned for 2022, but has become far more likely with the relatively early delay of Breath of the Wild 2 from 2022 to spring 2023. In other words, the chances are higher than ever that this could be the year where the physical Zelda release streak falls before reaching 10 years in a row. We should also not forget that the Wind Waker HD will take some effort away from Breath of the Wild 2, specifically in the final months of its development, and prioritizing the release of a new Zelda game is key for the following reason. Not ending up with pushing the open-air Zelda game of the Breath of the Wild 2 even further back than to say 2030. Every delay pushes the next Zelda game after it further away from release, as there is one 3D Zelda team, and sticking to spring 2023 is now their clear goal as the Switch is reaching a rather old age for hardware. 6+ years is normally when Nintendo TV systems are succeeded, but the Switch seems to be different, and thus maybe the Wind Waker HD could be released on the Switch in early 2024 before a new generation in spring 2025. With that being said, the future is hard to predict, and Nintendo needs past games to remake or re-release in the future as well. Under these circumstances, Metroid Prime in December, just like suggested by rumors, will fit the Switch perfectly if Metroid Prime 4 is a late 2023 title on the Nintendo Switch. Well, that, and the Switch having more than 2.5 years before being succeeded as of the upload of this video. After presenting it the way we have done throughout this video, you'll probably see how key balancing new and past 3D releases is for Nintendo in the final years of the Nintendo Switch. Should we sacrifice Zelda this year to have a solid line of releases in the gap between Breath of the Wild 2 and the next open-air game after it? Or should we give the fans something to chew on while they wait for the big reveals and release of the 20th Zelda game? It is questions like these that is the reason why it makes no sense for the Zelda team to simultaneously release both the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD in 2022, and why they most likely will split them up and perhaps use that extra time to do something more for Twilight Princess than what was done in 2016 for its 10th anniversary. Namely, provide a remake in 2026 that surpasses the Zelda tech demo for Wii U from 2011, the one that showed what a proper Twilight Princess remake could look like, maximizing the Legend of Zelda brand when it is needed, not right before the release of the next big installment in the series, in a year packed from late July to the second half of November with great brand new games, not remakes, which can be saved for December. As much as I want Switch owners to get the Wind Waker HD, the more I realize how more important it is for Nintendo fans to taste the greatness of the original Metroid Prime. Perhaps even with the same great graphics as Metroid Prime 4 to bring back a genre that has been dormant with new releases in the last 15 years. First-person adventure and a remake in the graphics of Metroid Prime 4. Breath of the Wild 2 is a direct sequel to the first game on the Nintendo Switch, but Metroid Prime 4 is the sequel to games that aren't in the slightest on the Nintendo Switch. With that being said, the Wind Waker HD will be great on the Switch if it comes out in the second half of September, but the window to make such a release is almost non-existent. Besides, at this point I will take a proper Breath of the Wild 2 marketing campaign starting with trailers and gameplay in September over at the Wind Waker HD 2022 Switch release any day. But what do you think? Will we get the Wind Waker HD or Metroid Prime HD on the Switch this year? Or do you think we could get both despite no reveal as of the upload of this video? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to not miss any of our upcoming Zelda and Nintendo videos. Last but not least, a big thanks to all of you watching and our patreon.com/Comeron patrons, and in particular, role producer Chalshash. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.